you will know those hidden enemies in your soul. So the soul has all these things. Your default settings, your egotistical nature, your narcissism, your pettiness, your sharah, your appetites, your tama', your covetousness, your desires, your hawa, your passions, all of these things that are your enemies. I mean, the four dominant enemies are nafs, shaitan, hawa, and dunya. Those are the four dominant ones. Nafs, hawa, shaitan, and dunya. So shaitan gets locked up in Ramadan, but nafs, hawa, and dunya are still around. So they wreak most of the havoc. All shaitan can do is suggest. He can't really do, his damage is in his waswasa. But hawa, nafs, those are very damaging. Especially these massive egos. Really dangerous people. And the worst type of people are the people that seek power. The people that want to be in charge. There's a very interesting book called Corruptible, which is looking at the fact that corruptibility, that the people that are most susceptible to corruption are the people actually that seek power. And so the worst type of people you want to elect are people that want to be elected. This is the irony. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ, in his vast hikmah, the wisest human being that ever lived, he said, we do not give political authority to people that seek it. لا نعطي هذا الأمر من طلبه أو حرص عليه, or covet it once they get it. And one of the signs of a sincere person is you can remove them from a position of authority and they're not bothered by it. In fact, that's one of the tests in the traditional samurai code, was to test people like that. The generals would test to see. Umar ibn al-Khattab, he took Khalid, who was head of the army, and he made him a foot soldier. Did Khalid object? How dare you? I'm the great general. All these victories are mine. He just did sama'an wa ta'ata. If that's where you want me, that's where I'll be. I mean, that's a very different perspective. وَالْخَامِسُ أَنَّ مَنْ عَرَفَ نَفْسُهُ فَقَدْ عَرَفَ أَعْدَاءُهُ الْكَامِنَةِ. So knowledge, and that's why the Prophet said, أَعْدَى عَدُوِّكَ نَفْسُكَ الَّتِي بَيْنَ جَنْبَيْكَ. The worst enemy that you have is your own soul between your two sides. Imam al-Bayhaqi relates that. And Daraqutni. فَيَسْتَعِيدُ بِاللَّهِ مِنْهَا وَمِنْ شَرِّهَا. So he seeks refuge in God, or she seeks refuge in God, from the evil of their own souls. كما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم اللهم ألهمني رشدي اللهم ألهمني رشدي وأعذني من شر نفسي. Oh Allah, inspire me with my guidance, my prudence, that I act prudently, and give me refuge from the evil of my own soul. This is a dua. And then Allahumma la takinni ila nafsi tarfat ayn. Don't leave me to myself. Don't leave me to myself, even for the blink of an eye. In other words, be my nasir. Don't leave me to my soul, because my soul will take me to destruction. وَمَنْ عَرَفَ أَعْدَاءُهُ الْكَامِنَةَ وَمَكَامِنَهَا. Whoever knows those hidden enemies and their machinations, all the hidden things in them, all the subtleties and the ways that they do these things. وَكَيْفِيَةَ إِنْبِعَاثِهَا. And the nature of what incites the nafs, what provokes it, the provocations of the self, knowing the nature of the provocations of the self. فَحَرِيٌ أَنْ يَحْتَرِزَ مِنْهَا. That one will be capable of guarding against his or her soul. وَأَنْ يُجَاهِدَهَا لِيَسْتَحِقَّ مَا وَعَدَ اللَّهُ بِهِ الْمُجَاهِدِينَ فِي سَبِيلِهِ. And to struggle against the soul in order to warrant, to be worthy of what God has promised that person who is amongst the people who struggle against his soul in the way of God. In Surah Al-Ankabut, Allah says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about the وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبَلَنَا وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ مَعَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. That those who do mujahada for our sake, and that was in Mecca, that was before any type of outward defense or jihad was mentioned. So this is a Meccan verse and it's about the struggle against the soul. Al-mujahidu man jahada hawah. Right? So he says that if you do mujahada in your soul, Allah will guide you to His ways. Not the sabil, the subal. The many ways of God, because God has many ways in the world that He's working, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is working. And then he says, وَمَنْ لَمْ يَعْرَفْهَا فَجَدِيرٌ أَنْ يَتَرَاءَ لَهُ عَدُوُّهُ الَّذِي هُوَ الْهَوَى بِصُورَةِ الْعَقْلِ فَيُصَوِّرُ لَهُ الْبَاطِلَ بِصُورَةِ الْحَقِّ وَقَدْ قَالَ النَّبِيُّ الْهَوَى شَيْطَانٌ بَلْ قَالَ هُوَ إِلَهٌ يُعْبَدُ مِنْ دُونِ اللَّهِ. So if he doesn't know his soul and knows these hidden enemies, then it's easy for his enemy to appear to him, which is his own passion, in the form of intelligence. It'll come in the form of reason, and will make falsehood appear to be truth. It will make falsehood appear to be truth. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ said, Al-hawa shaitan. Shaitan is whatever diverts you from Allah. That's shaitana is to make you distant from God, to take you away. Kafka said, is a beautiful definition. Evil is whatever distracts. It's what distracts you from reality. It's what takes you away from reality. And so that's why hawa is a shaitan, because it takes you away from your true self, from your own essence. I mean, this is what Dr. Clear used to talk about, the host and the guest. That don't be fooled by the uninvited guest who takes over your house, your spiritual house, your abode, your internal abode, the self. When you get angry, that's an uninvited guest, because you don't want to get angry. Who's you? Who's getting angry? Like, I got angry today. Who got angry? Because if you didn't want to, and yet you did, what's that conflict in the soul? Those are the things that you're struggling against. Those are the internal enemies that he's talking about. The uninvited hosts, guests that come in and completely wreak havoc on the host. And one of the biggest problems for humans is they begin to associate the uninvited guests with themselves. And they fall into despair because they think it's them. They don't know. لو عرف الإنسان قيمة قلبه لو أدرك الإنسان لذة سره. If man but knew, if the human being but knew our reality and who we are. And so then he says, فقد